Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Along with Vincent Turner, the man with the most, and Logan Landers, our engineer, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to welcome you to another episode of this week's draft prospects. We're going to talk about 3 additional players that should be available for the 2025 NFL draft. Guys that, with a lot of football yet to play, are prospects that we think you should keep an eye out on, especially with some of the games that are coming on the college campuses here in the next few weeks. These will be names that you're going to be wanting to notice and take advantage of. To join me today and bring in some incredible insight, we want to welcome Vincent Turner. Vincent, come on in. You're off on the side. I see you now. All right. Vincent, we're talking about 3 specific guys here today. We got Danny Stutzman, linebacker from Oklahoma, Evan Stewart, a wide receiver who was at Texas A&M, but now he makes his home in Eugene, Oregon, and Malachi Starks, a safety from the University of Georgia. 3 really good players. I'm looking forward to my chat with you about these 3 guys.
High-level players. They're playing in some big football games this weekend, and all I can think about is that bank account and there's money on the field. It's that simple. Oklahoma playing Texas this week in the Red River Shootout. Mr. Stewart is going up against the Ohio State Buckeyes. They got millions of players that's going to go to the NFL draft in the 2025. And then, of course, Malachi Starks, who I think is the best safety in the country. So when you're talking
all 3 great players, let's first talk about Danny Stutzman. He's 6'4", 240, maybe 243 by now. He might be 238, but 240 is a solid weight for him. Good linebacker, not in the same class as Bosworth, but he has been an All-American at Oklahoma. He has been a guy that everybody's been kind of watching as a prospect that is going from maybe a day 3 guy to possibly a day 2. Some of his attributes he can cover, which means this guy can run. His athleticism, his ability to hit and get to the runner are at the top of the food chain. He can close. He form tackles. There's very few people that get away from him. Your thoughts basically on Danny, and what is your initial impression on him?
I like him a lot as a linebacker. This year he's already got 40 tackles. So this tells me that he's going to be a guy at the next level is going to be very productive. But when you look at Danny Stutzman, I look at his size, Harper, about 6'4", 240, same size that you played with when you was in the league. You might have been about 255. But I like him. I like the comparison. Buddy Curry, a Kirk Crane that played at Auburn, and Teddy Lehman, who was an outstanding linebacker at Oklahoma, and a Brand Van Pelk, who played at Michigan State, who's about 6'4", 210. And we know about one thing about Danny. He's got that FBI, what I call football intelligence. Then, as you mentioned, cover skills. That's going to be huge going to the next level. And most of all, he's athletic, which is off the charts.
Yeah, his ability to move, I think, will be a great asset for him to be able to run from sideline to sideline. The coverage ability, if he plays in the middle, he'll be on a back. If he's playing on the outside, it'll either be a tight end or maybe a slot receiver at times. His ability, if he does play on the outside, to get to the quarterback on certain instances, that's going to be something that he'll need to work on. The biggest thing that he has in terms of drawbacks is, maintaining the gap. If he's got the A-gap, sometimes he slides to the outside or gets pushed to the outside. His ability to recognize that as a weakness and turn that into a strength, especially in the coming weeks, I think that'll be a critical component for him based on where he's selected in the draft. For example, you mentioned the Red River rivalry. That's this weekend. Well, in the next 7 weeks, Oklahoma plays an additional 5 teams. So if you count this week, 6 of their last 8 games on the schedule are against national ranked opponents. That to me is going to loom large for him. If he plays well against not only Alabama, but LSU and Texas this week and the others that they have on that schedule, I think that will help entice people that are watching him to look at him in a completely different manner because he's playing against some of the best offensive linemen in the country, and he's doing well. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Final thoughts on Danny?
I think when you look overall, I think, as you just mentioned, he's got a lot of games where he can showcase his talents. And I think at the end of the year, I think he's going to be a player that's going to hop in the first round. I really like this guy because I like his size. I like big guys that's 6'4", 235, 240 that can run and can also rush the passer. I think he's going to be a very good player at the next level.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too, folks, at the end of the year, whether you play in a New Year's Day bowl game or if you're in a national championship game, you're going to see a lot of these guys disappear. They're going to be gone for 6 weeks. They're going to be at these camps getting ready for the combine. Chip Smith, for example, here in Atlanta, he's one of the guys, and he takes 20 or 30 guys a year. They develop you. They start you in a swimming pool of all places, but they work your fast twitch muscle fiber. They get you in the weight room. They get you ready. What I call it's the equivalent of getting ready for that SAT test. That doesn't have anything to do with you getting into college, except it's the entrance portion of it. You don't know if you're going to pass your Psych 101 class or whether or not you're going to have a great math career when you're in college, but you can't get in unless you have a great SAT. That's one of those precursors. The same with the combine. It is where everybody gets to be seen, and all the linebackers, every inside linebacker that's there could be 35 of them, and they're all ranked based on their 40 time, their vertical jump, their ability to answer some questions, the medical aspect of it. So it's a very interesting phenomenon how they rank all these players. And I think Danny Stutzman will have a very good time getting ready for that, learning new skills and adapting to a point where hopefully, for his sake, a first or second round call is on the way. Our next player is Evan Stewart. Evan started at Texas A&M. He ended up transferring to Oregon, and that's where he is right now. This wide receiver has all the talent. He's got tremendous speed. He's got an ability to get open. He knows how to find spots on the field where he'll be able to catch a ball in between either a cornerback or a safety or a linebacker. He, again, as Vincent just said a few seconds ago, FBI football intelligence, he's loaded with it. Give me your thoughts on Evan.
Big game coming up against Ohio State. He's going to be playing against a guy who a lot of people saying is a first-round NFL cornerback, Mr. Denzel Burke. But what I like about Evan is that speed, as you just mentioned, and he's a very skilled player with speed where he can run routes real well. And when you look at him, you want to talk about comparison, he got a little bit of Anthony Carter that went to the University of Michigan. He got a little bit of Charlie Brown that played at South Carolina State that was with the Washington Redskins. He got a little bit of another Texan out of the Dallas area that played at Arizona State, Mr. John Jefferson. Remember him? Had an outstanding career with Green Bay and San Diego. Yes, sir. Help me out today. And then he got a little bit of Jordan Addison that played at USC 2 years ago. A very good guy that run good routes and got that speed, lightning. So when I think about Mr. Evan Stewart, I like him. There's no concerns with me. I'll let you handle that, Harper. But this weekend is big for him because he's going to be playing against an NFL talent secondary. And that also he's going to be going up against Denzel Burke. You should know him very well. Also, Caleb Downs is in the secondary for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Harper, you know about Caleb Downs. Back to you.
Yeah, this will be a tremendous test for him. Going from Pac-12 to Big Ten, colder weather, bigger guys. Maybe he has the advantage in terms of his speed, but they're going to hit you. And that's one of the things that every wide receiver, you got to pass that test. It's part of the crucible. Here's a direct quote. Evan Stewart is a skilled wide receiver prospect with the athletic ability to win at all three levels of defense. And he can become a consistent first down weapon in the passing game. He's 6 feet, he's 175 pounds. If there's anything that they want to say that he needs to work on, one is he needs to play a little bit bigger. He's real light. He's got a wiry frame is the way some people put it. So get him in the weight room, get him at the training table. If he gains 5, maybe 8 pounds and still keeps that speed, that's something that I think will be very advantageous for this young man. He gets rerouted a lot. We'll see that here this week if that happens, where he gets bumped at the line of scrimmage. Instead of running a straight route up the field, he ends up distant from it and has to change the route pattern. Sometimes that causes some havoc for quarterbacks because they don't know where you're going to be at a specific time. And if he can work on one other thing, it would probably be his run blocking. There are folks that are saying that he needs to have a little more enthusiasm in wanting to do that. But that comes with strength. And strength builds confidence. When you have confidence, you can play with anybody. So that's one of those things that, over time, I think once he works on that and can get strong and be as fast and explosive as he is, sky's the limit. He's a second round or day 2 guy right now. Hopefully he gets a chance to move up. He doesn't have a whole lot of catches. Tez Johnson has more catches at Oregon right now. He's in the upper 30s, but I think Evan's going to be a solid player, especially if he can be a go-to guy on third down and get over the top and get a couple of touchdowns before the end of the season. Vincent, my final thought about Evan is, man, you've got all kinds of tools, and the fact that you play bigger than what you are is a great compliment, but let's get a little bit bigger.
Evan, let me say this to you from 100 yards from my heart, Vincent Turner. You got money on the field Saturday night. You're going against the best of the best. Get that bank account right. I like him. Similar to Anthony Carter that played at the University of Michigan. You know how good AC was once he left the USFL with the Michigan Panthers and what type of player he was with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we wish him all the best, and we know that everybody has some work to do, and that includes Malachi Stark. He's our third player that we're going to feature here today. If you're here in the Georgia area, you know all about Malachi. Malachi is 6'1". He's 185 pounds. He's your safety right now that can come up and play the run and knock somebody down. He's not going to knock you out, but he's going to make sure that that guy goes down and doesn't gain any additional yards. He's also a safety that can cover a tight end, and he can cover one of the wide receivers. He's not going to be called on to get a running back a lot, but I think he can do all of the above. The great things about him, and let me read a quote real quick. Malachi Starks is a great blend of athletic traits and instincts that allow him to be versatile at all 3 levels of the defensive side, and he's a tremendous playmaker. He's as athletic, he's fluid, he has a high intelligence. His ball range is as good as anybody out there. Vincent, your thoughts about Malachi?
I already told you off air, and I'm going to say it in front of everybody here in 100 Yards Football. Kudos, God bless. To me, he's the best safety in the country. When you're talking about elite athletic ability, it's no better safety. A 3-level guy, as just Harper just mentioned, can come up, play the run, can hit. Not a real, what I want to say, explosive tackler, but I want to say a consistent tackler. Once he put his hands on you, you're going to stop right there in the dirt. And when I think about him, he got all these traits. Van McElroy, remember him? Baylor University, ended up being a safety with the Raiders. Remember the great Vernon Perry out of Jackson State, the Houston Oilers. Remember who followed him? Bubba McDowell, who's now the head coach at Perry University. Roland James, you should know about him, Harper, because now Roland James was gone when you went up to Knoxville in 1981. But outstanding safety at University of Tennessee. But when you look at Malachi Starks, he's not an explosive this player. But to me, when I look at him, my game, I think about Kenny Easley when he was at UCLA. Long, lanky, explosive. Malachi's not explosive as Kenny Easley, but the tackling ability, able to play in the box and then able to cover in the deep line, as we call it back in my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee, being able to play back as a deep safety. And then he got a little bit of Darren Woodson, Dallas Cowboys, Arizona State. I love the young man, and I'm going to stay pat. To me, he's the best safety in the country. 25 tackles on the year, 1 INT, but he plays big time when big games come in the face for the University of Georgia. Kirby Smart has done real well, man. Kirby being a former safety, you got one of the best that's ever played at the University of Georgia. I guarantee that. And he's going to be successful at the next level. And by the way, he's also a very good student, 3.2 in the classroom.
Well, one thing that Kirby has in Malachi Starks is a big game player, and they've had plenty of big games at Georgia, and they still will this season. Yes, they lost to Alabama, but is there anyone else on the schedule that you think you're going to lose to? So that means that you're going to be in the playoff, and those are all big games. And he's been in some in the past, and he will be in some this year. There's still a few left to go in order to get there, but his ability to break and quickly get on a short throw, change direction, go from backpedaling, stopping at a dime, and getting to a guy that is running a flat route or whatever it may be that he's got to change direction. He's one of the best at doing that as well. Those are things that you'll be watching for when you see number 24, as you're looking at right now, in a Bulldog uniform for the rest of the season. I look forward to watching all three play. They're great players. They're on teams that are highly ranked right now. Oklahoma's 18, depending on the source that you're looking at. Georgia's in the top 5, and so is the University of Oregon. So some great players that will be playing on Sundays. We're just not quite sure right now whether it'll be the first, second, third, maybe the fourth round, but guys that you'll be hearing about as the season progresses. Final thoughts here, Vincent.
I'm going to say this. I think Danny Stutzman, when it's all said and done, I think he's going to have some great production over the next couple of weeks. I think he's an excellent football player. I love his size. I'm going to say it one more time. 6'4", 240, can run like the wind. That's special. Evan Stewart, I don't have to say no more. One more time, man. If I'm talking to you, I say money is on the field Saturday night. This is your time to show how special you are, man. Be an Anthony Carter on Saturday night against the University of Ohio State. And, of course, Malachi starts. I'm going to bring up this one important point, Harper. He started as a true freshman. His first game was against Oregon. I believe he had a stat line of 1 interception. I think he had a forced fumble in that game. He had 8 tackles. As a true freshman, he started against Oregon. And we're talking about him 2 years. I am, as him being the best safety in the 2025 NFL draft.
Yep.
Back to you, sir.
First team All-American. We'll take it. So if you're not big, you better be fast. And if you're not fast, you better be big. And if you're not either, you're not going to find yourself getting drafted. Because if you can do both of those, if you're big, you're fast, if you're smart, if you can play, if you're a good teammate, they'll find you and they'll locate you and they'll pick you. That's the way it works. Well, for Vincent Turner and myself, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Draft Prospects. We'll be, throughout the rest of the year, having several more communications with you on a weekly basis. We look forward to finding another player that you enjoy watching on Saturdays, and let's see if we'll both watch together when they're playing on Sundays. So for Vincent, for myself, for Logan Landers, our engineer, we want to thank you for watching another episode of 100 Yards of Football Draft Prospects.